and welcome to That Squirrel Speaks. Today is Wednesday, July 24th, and this is episode 250. That is half of 500. I don't know if I'll make it to 500, but I made it to 250. Oh my gosh. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Today's episode, I think what we'll do is do business in the front, party in the back. So it'll be a mullet episode. We're going to do the knitting first, and then we'll do all of the SSK talk. Because I know that sometimes folks get like, they get a little FOMO-y about retreats and things that they don't get to go to, and I totally feel you. So I'll put that at the back. You can listen to it if you want to, but opt out if you don't. There will also be, I'll also then put all of my like things I purchased and everything at the very end. So if you want to watch SSK part but don't want to be tempted by stuff, you can stop at the, and then you can I will do some shameless self-promotion at the front. As I said, did I say that it was August? Because it's July. It's July. There will be an update this Friday, which is July 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern. That will be everything I brought back from the Super Summer Knit Together market. So that'll be a large and varied haul. Then on August 2nd, I think, is when I will do the indigo bag. So if you liked the bag that I did for the SSK participants, but you did not attend, I will have the remainder of those bags listed on August 2nd, I believe. And then I will try to do, then August 9th. So we're doing like 4 updates in a row. That's what I'm telling you right now. August 9th, I'm going to do the bathing beauties. So if you like fat ladies and bikinis, I'm going to do those bags on August 9th. And then August 16th will be a big sweary update. So if you looked at some of the bags from folks who purchased on SSK on Instagram, or if you know somebody who went and they had a sweary bag, probably August 16th. Those will definitely be a pre-order, so those will not be going out right away. But everything else should go out, within a few business days. So if my update's on Friday, I usually try to get everything out by Tuesday. Does that make sense? Because really, I try not to work on the weekend. And you're like, well, why would you have an update on Friday? When I started a billion years ago, I did like 15 bags. So I could do the update on Friday, give the whole weekend for them to sell, and then Monday morning I could package up my little 15 bags and send them out. Now that I'm doing bigger updates, it's a little bit hard to get all that shipping done on that Monday. So that's, I don't know, I just haven't changed my update day because like that's just where I'm at, so there basically be bags in the shop every Friday for the next 4 weeks. What? I'm not even lying. Gus is so excited. He's squeaking things for you. It's his Chris sandwich. So he's really happy that there's going to be updates. And he's going to try to bring me this Chris sandwich to throw to him, even though there's like stuff literally piled everywhere around me. Gus, don't get in that bag, please. Thank you. Anyway. So that's the plan. So that's all of the shameless self-promotion. Next thing, shameful confessions. I don't have prizes out for Patreon and PayPal donations to the podcast during second quarter. I'm the worst. I will do them next time, and I will add an extra prize. So there'll be 4 prizes for the second quarter because I am bad and did not get them ready for you. Oh my gosh, Gus is so wet. This is what Gus did this morning. I went out to do my morning beetle cull. We're definitely having some Japanese beetle issues. And let me just discuss, I am ready to set out an overnight trap for them, which involves putting like a book light on a bucket of like oily, soapy water and just being like, just coming out in the morning and finding millions of dead bug carcasses in that bucket. I'm really close to doing that. But right now I'm just going out and maliciously pulling them off the plants and dropping them in soapy water for them to die. Basically, I am a mass murderer of all beetles. I'm just saying. Not ladybugs. But Japanese beetles, dead. Deadsville. Those Junebug scarabee beetles, I'm sorry, I'm still killing them. I'm just saying. They're eating everything. So I was out for my morning bug cull, and we have this like We're so sketchy, y'all. We have this like old door that was just hanging out in the garage, which my husband felt like really should be made into a bench. But of course, it's a door for an inside the house, so it's in no way treated to be outside the house. So like the laminated wood is like expanding and doing all sorts of crazy things, but whatever. It's still out there. And there was a bowl of water out there that I have out there for birds and whatnots. It's a real shallow bowl. So Gus is out there because he likes to attack the dog that's in the water reflection, or just dance in the water. I'm not sure, but I kind of like to think that he's attacking the dog in the water reflection. So he was out there doing that, and then he fell off the table, but as he was falling off the table, of course, he caught his little doggy arm in that big pool of water, which then he proceeded to dump all over himself. He landed on his back, scared me to death. But he was okay, and as soon as I realized he was okay, I could not stop laughing. Because he just like dumped a whole bottle of water on his belly. But now he's still wet. But I'm still holding him because I'm a sucker. Right? So those of you who want to see Gus, he doesn't really like to be seen apparently. There he is. There's Gus. There's Gus. Hi Gus. This is what he does. He just hides his little head when he gets on you. I don't know what it is. Anyway, what were we even talking about? Let's talk about something. Okay, guys. So the first thing, I actually do have some spinning. It's not like finished or anything, so just slow your roll of judgment. I have been spinning on some Knit Spin Farm, kind of like mini bats that I got a collection of at Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival. And so they were like all of these like pinks and purples, but they were like dusky pinks and purples. So they weren't like candy colors. They were just like soft, tired, antique rose garden colors. They were very lovely. And then I decided to apply them with a ply of some fiber that I purchased from Tarheelbilly Farms, which was an American Tunis. And I found out, get this, if you're going to Vogue Knitting Live in Columbus, Ohio this fall, Tarheelbilly Farm, the shepherdess is actually giving a lecture. I don't know her in any real way, but I still feel fancy. Also, Hey Brownberry is totally teaching sock classes. Ninja Chickens is totally teaching eco dyeing classes. Lots of other people doing lots of amazing things. Of course, those three all come together in my brain right now. I think her talk is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, because I believe that her talk and Claire Park's talk are on the same day, but they don't overlap. Why would I know this? Potentially because I added all the things I wanted to my cart, and now my cart's just sitting there being like, trying to decide. What should I do? Should I do all the things? That's what I want to do, but they cost all the dollars. What? Maybe Vogue Knitting Live will accept some of my canned sweet pickles in barter for my attendance of classes and lectures. Do you think that'll work? Totally, right? And the hotel will totally accept some tomatoes. Right? Totally. That's a thing. Anyway. So I'm spinning this. I love this American Tunis. I don't know why. I can't remember how much I said last time, but I don't think I talked very much. I really thought I thought American Tunis was like a Harrier sheep breed, which I don't know why I had that in my head, but it's definitely not. It's more like a downy breed, which makes sense. It's a fat-tailed sheep, which are the sheep that are largely part of our meat sheep populations. And in fact, according to the Fleece and Fiber Sourcebook, American Tunis is on like the slow food save list because it is the most delectable sheepy meat. I don't know, but that's what they say, and I believe them. So anyway, so there's a bobbin of this. This is a 4-ounce bobbin. I don't think this is quite 4 ounces because it's like mega squishy. It's a but this is definitely woolen spun. I kind of naturally have a somewhat woolen approach to spinning. I think it's because I learned to spin on a Louet S10, which is like Irish tension, which tends to pull really hard. And I had so much trouble trying to spin worsted. I felt like my hands were cramping up. Because when you spin worsted, you're keeping twist out of the where you're drafting. And it was just like I had to pinch two, I don't know. I can't explain it, but for whatever reason, my default spin and like the way I actually learned to spin, I'm self-taught from YouTubes and whatnot. It's not from just like the ether. Of course, since then I have taken many classes. But my default spin is sort of like a supported long draw-ish. Now that sounds fancy to spinners. Spinners are sometimes there's this like, ooh, long draw. But it's just the way I learned, so it feels easier to me than spinning worsted. Sorry, non-spinners, that was some spinning talk. Anyway, so that was my spinning. I, of course, did lots of spinning in my Super Summer Knit Together classes. I had 6 hours of classes on Friday and spinning with Maggie Casey. It was fabulous. But those were largely samples and things like that. But it's always good to have some spinning inspiration. I've been wanting to spin more lately. It's just a matter of, sometimes it's hard with the podcast, right? Like spinning is a time-consuming craft, like many of our other crafts. And it's not as relatable to all y'all, because I know a lot of you are not spinners. I know a lot of you who aren't spinners are still interested in spinning. Get it. But it's a little bit less podcast friendly, I guess. Like there's not something to hold up and be like, ta-da! So I feel like when I have time, I should be knitting, but I need to make sure that I am also going back to spinning because I really do enjoy it. It's very relaxing to me, and I don't know, I just dig it, and I should do more of it. Okay. So then let's talk about what I'm knitting. Okay. I did knit more on my Emma Yoke sweater, which I cannot find to show you. It's around here somewhere. I feel 100% confident that I didn't, well, I feel 90% confident I did not leave it as SK. But I'm not sure where it is to show you. Okay. So let's just show you other things I've been working on. I've been working on my Novelli. Is that right? Let me double check. Because now I feel like as soon as I said that word, it did not feel right anymore. But I'm pretty sure that's it. It's not Nordiska, it's Novelli. Oh my gosh, so many patterns added to my queue at the Super Summer Knit Together retreat. Oh, right. Nordiska. Okay, that was correct. Which is by Caitlin Hunter. It's this one. So it has a significant amount of positive ease. It's cropped, and it has like a 3/4-ish elbow sleeve. It's more 3/4 than elbow, but it has a large colorwork band. In fact, the band on the sleeve is deeper than the band on the body, which is one of the reasons I thought it was interesting and intriguing. So I am knitting that with Bumblebee Acres yarn. They were also at the Super Summer Knit Together vending market, and I apologize I don't have my tag, but it is Hagrid, Keeper of the Keys. It is their Corriedale nylon sock, and I love Corriedale nylon sock. So enjoyable. I know that the market really wants everything to be merino, but I disagree. Oh, so hard. I disagree. But here we go so far. So here it is. I have split for my sleeves, and I am on the body. I do not have as much positive ease as indicated in the pattern. I basically am just being inspired by the pattern, which is what I often do with knitwear. For example, the sleeve depth, the armhole side is very deep on this pattern, and I will not be doing that. I'll be just doing a traditional fit. But isn't that pretty? Isn't it working up nicely? I am alternating skeins because I am supposed to have 2 skeins of this main color for the body and the sleeves. So I am alternating, but I did not alternate at the very top, and it did not turn out blotchy or pooly at all. So I'm very pleased with it so far. Yay. And you cannot tell where I began to alternate skeins, I don't think. So even though this is a very variegated speckly kind of colorway, there was pretty good consistency between the skeins. So, and then for my contrast colors, I have a very, very dark grape. Like it's almost black. And a gold because but also in the Corriedale sock. And then also I have been knitting on my baby sweater. So this is the, I apologize, let me get to this. It's Ellen's Play Set by PetiteKnit. So I'm just doing the cardigan. I don't think I'm going to do the little bloomers. But it's a little eyelet raglan top-down cardigan. My yarn is 2 Dye Crew, and it's CRU. I mean, I can't imagine where they'd be inspired from, but you know, okay. It's 100% superwash Polwarth, and this is the Firefly colorway. And so I am dropping stitches off of a sleeve because somehow I also, what is up with me that I'm always showing you this while I've not completed a row? Like really, 9 times out of 10 when I put this dude away, I have completed a row, except apparently when I'm going to show it to you. And then I'm going to drop some eyelets, which is super awesome, especially when you're knitting on size US 1.5s. Right? Right? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I'm an animal. So not perfect, but I can still show you since it's tiny. Okay, so I have split for the sleeves. So there's like a little profile of the tiny little cardigan. So tiny. Right? So it's very cute, and it just has a little, again, that all over eyelet, which will block out even cuter, but I'm enjoying it so far. So yay, that. My tummy just totally growled in a crazy way. I hope you did not hear it. Yeah, if you did, it's fine. I have a body. It gets hungry for food. So yeah, yay that. And then, yeah, I just did some sock knitting and a little bit more knitting on the body of that Emma yoke, which is the green. It's kind of like, it's not, it's like a, I don't know what green that is. It's a bluish green, but not teal, with like the Easter egg yolk that's pink and yellow. Maybe that sounds familiar. So I did some more knitting on the body of that, but really you would not be able to tell because I'm in that kind of like underarm. And I don't understand why that sweater is just, I'm not working on it a lot because I've been distracted by working on other things. But it just seems like that sweater does not grow. It's fingering, I mean, actually it's sport weight. It's listed as DK, it's totally sport. It's sport weight, and of course I am a big person, so there's a lot of stitches around. But it's not even that, because I feel like I do finish a row relatively quickly because I have row markers in for bust darts and things like that. It just seems like it's not growing vertically at all. It's some black hole knitting, y'all. Okay. Okay, so then let's talk about garden stuff just briefly. Actually, I'm kind of in a lull, even though I just canned a ton of pickles. Okay, I've continued to can a ton of pickles. I have tomatoes that I was convinced were all going to get ripe when I'm gone. They're still not ripe. I picked my very first tomato of the year, and it's like this big around. It's not a cherry tomato, it's just a baby. But I have an exciting and terrifying amount of tomatoes out there. So that is coming to be done. I think originally I was planning to can the sauce, like do a sauce and then can that. I may end up freezing it just in terms of like, if all these tomatoes come on at the same time, I probably will not have like the burner space to be running a canner and be making sauce. I don't know, we'll see what happens. It's a little bit intimidating. Also, I don't know, my green beans, again, I've been having issues with Japanese beetles. They're definitely getting some leaf loss, but not so much that it looks like the plants are impaired. The plants look very healthy, but I'm just not getting beans to set. I have beans, my 3 sisters, oh my gosh, I totally picked 8 ears of corn. Yes, I did. I picked 8 ears of corn. I can't remember if I told you last time that I freaked out because the Japanese beetles were eating the silks. And I didn't even know that that was something I should be looking for. But they did. And apparently that can cause issues with the pollination of the action. And so I did have one corn that looked weird. Like it was like a Skeletor corn. It was all pale and not correct at all. And so that one I think was a problem. And then I had one ear out of the 8 that was very, I would say only like 2/3 of the kernels had been properly pollinated and they were big and fat and lovely. And the other ones were just weird. But the other 6 looked beautiful. I mean, gorgeous. But I did actually probably wait a few days longer than I was supposed to harvest them. I kept testing them and they didn't seem like they were anywhere. Like I kept feeling them and they didn't seem like they were anywhere near being done. But then when I tested them, again, all 8 of them had the, like when you peel back, the little peek in there. All 8 of them did show, well, except for the one that didn't have any kernels, but all 8 of them did show milk. So I'm guessing, because that's the test, like, right, you puncture a kernel and if the liquid runs clear, it's not ready. If it runs milky, it's ready. And since all of them ran milky, it's probably an indicator that I waited a little bit too long to harvest those ears. They were a little tough. Whatever, it's still really cool that we even got corn. Just saying. I still feel fancy. So anyway. What was I? Oh, the beans. Yeah, so like I don't have so the beans that are on, I guess, part of the 3 sisters, so the beans that are on the corn stalks do have a few beans on them, but the other ones are really getting like, they're huge and jungly. Like they're actually taller than I am and they're still sending out like runners like, hey, where are we at? But they're just not setting beans yet. So I don't know what's going on. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I've grown green beans. They were like the ones I was least worried about because usually green beans just take care of themselves. I mean, except for like, again, if you have problems with some Japanese beetles or something like that. But we'll see what happens. I don't even know how I'm going to find the beans when they do come on because they are so intensely, there's so much foliage that I really am like, because the cucumber foliage, like those are pretty big leaves. I mean, right at the top, they're smaller, but it's pretty easy to like move them around and see. But bean foliage is all like relatively, I mean, some of them are bigger, but mostly they're not very big leaves. And so it's just like, and I have 3 trellises of them and it is intense out there. Like, I'm like, I can't even like see inside this jungle mass. I'm not gonna lie, every time there's this one like big knot of foliage and every time I start to like peek into it, I'm afraid there's gonna be like 9 million Japanese beetles that sneak out at me because it's like so gnarly and like twisted up. I'm not gonna lie. Japanese beetles don't hurt you, but they're still bugs. And they will like fly at your head. Especially those stupid scarabee June bugs. They're just like kamikaze you. Not like, that's not the correct word because they're not doing it intentionally. They're just like clumsy, crazy flyers. Just like bumble into you. And those dudes are big. They're like that big. They're huge. If you're an entomologist and you're like, I know that's not what that bug is that you're talking about, please feel free to tell me. Anyway, what were we talking about? I was talking about the beans and how I'm like concerned about them. The tomatoes are all going to come on at once. And there's a lot of biomass out there. It's amazing, right? Like, I think the beautiful thing about growing a garden is like, there's twofold. Part of it makes you really frickin' appreciate actual farmers who grow food for other human beings and themselves and who stake their livelihood on this agricultural enterprise because, dude, everything is so tentative. Like, everything can go wrong. It's worse than WebMD. Like, when you're trying to find out why your cucumber plants have yellow leaves, you wish it was at WebMD because there's 9 million things that could be wrong with those cucumber plants. Like, apparently mine just needed a little nitrogen. But there's like a million things that could be wrong with them. And like funguses that like you apparently just need to like burn your house down and move because it's never going to go away and you can never have a cucumber again. Like, what? I'm like, do I really need to create a pyre of all the cucumber plants and like circle around them winter shins chanting die fungus die? Or was that farmer just a little angry when they wrote that comment? I don't know. But it's intense, y'all. Just saying. So it really makes you appreciate, in a very small way, like how delicate all of the balances are. And like let's talk about how none of us understand that really. As like people who go to a grocery store and there is always food there from all over the place. So it's really helpful in that. And then also it's just like a flippin' spiritual experience. There was dirt in those boxes. And then you put this thing that's like this big in that box. Okay, granted, I put 20, 40, 60. I put maybe 80 things that were this big in those 12 boxes. And now there is an insane amount of biomass out there. Literally, the garden is as tall. Now, it is raised, but it's only like 6 inches raised because my beds are only 8 inches and I didn't fill them all the way up. So there is biomass out there as tall as I am, almost across the board. Like the tomatoes are almost all as tall as I am. The cucumbers would love to be taller than I am. The beans would love to be taller than I am. Like it's such a crazy amount of volume of growth. It's mind-boggling. It is the most amazing magic trick ever. Anyway, so I hope you try gardening if you have the space to do it. I'm sorry, that was not really, I did not mean to talk about that, but I'm just constantly, like every morning when I go out there, I'm like, this is some crazy stuff. Like, thank you, ancestors. Thank you so much for figuring this out. This is crazy. Anyway, I think that's all of the like non-SSK content. I'm thinking so. Let's move on to SSK content. Maybe we should take a break first. No, let's keep going. The lighting is bad. When I started, there was no light reflecting off the house behind me, and now there is. Sorry. I really did try to get my act together. Actually, what I was really going to do is planning on podcasting tomorrow, and I'd have prizes for you and everything, but then I had to take my car into the mechanic tomorrow morning. So I can't podcast. Because I have to be in the mechanic's place and smell those terrible tire off-gassing fumes. What is going on with like the conditions of mechanics and people who work in tire stores? I feel like it is not safe. I'm only in there for like 3 minutes and I'm already like, I cannot handle this off-gassing from these tires. I have got to get out of here. I don't know. I'm worried about them, like in a deep, serious way. So anyway, I have to go do that tomorrow morning. I'm not looking forward to it, but my car is chirping. I just had the alternator replaced in my 20-year-old minivan. It needs to last 1 more year. Okay, that's the rule. It has to last another year. But anyway, so I think when they did it, something is weird. There's like a bearing in that alternator that's wrong or something, because now it's chirping and it's like bringing back all of like my like childhood poverty shame of like having a car that makes noises and stuff. Let me just discuss though. Oh, this is the most ridiculous podcast ever. Let me just discuss though. We went to IKEA the other day because I needed something. My daughter needed a million things. I pared her down to 2 things. Anyway, we were at the IKEA and I was like, and I expressed my embarrassment over the car making its chirping noise. Now it's not like if you've ever had a car where like the fan belt squeals, it's not like that noise that's like crazy loud, but it feels that loud to me because I am so aware of it. I have some poverty issues from my childhood that are still holding over. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am like so humiliated about it. And so I'm like, we have got to get this fixed because I'm really embarrassed that it's making this much noise. And she's like, what are you embarrassed for? I was like, because the car is making this much noise, which indicates that it's not working. And she's like, the car is still running and getting us where we need to go. I don't think it's embarrassing. And I was just like, every great once in a while you're like, I am not totally ruining parenting. Mostly I'm totally ruining parenting. But every once in a while I'm like, I don't know how I accidentally didn't mess this child up in this one very specific way, but I managed not to. And then I feel really proud for like a half second about all of the coincidences and lucks that went into that. And that was one of those moments. Anyway, that was a lot of me saying, like, I apologize for bad back reflection light. SSK. Let's talk about the knitting, the goodie bag. Look at the cute goodie bag this year. Right? It's like a little Nyan cat thing because it's their 8th year and that's 8-bit. Isn't that sweet? Little sheepy. But isn't this bag is super fun. It has like a crossbody thing. It has snappy things down here so you can like make it do that. It's a very nice bag. And it has a zipper. There are lots of great things in the bag. I'll just talk about a few because I'm sure other people are going to talk about so many. But there are these tags for swatching. So I have the beautiful Bad Betty Knits tags for swatching. They also put out this one, and it has, you know, all the information you might need, gauge, rows, all this stuff. It's on like the Tyvek, like the post office, you know, that kind of, is it fabric? Is it plastic? What is it? It's that stuff. And so you have all the room for your yarn, all of that. You have little measurements on there. So you have centimeters and inches built into it. So just another option if you need swatching cards. It tells you how you blocked. That's so cute. So cute. So these are the Tyvek. So you can just like attach it to your swatch as soon as you get done knitting. And then, you know, you can wash it with this on it as long as you use a permanent marker. And it should not fade off. So they had those. If you are curious about purchasing some of those, the ladies did indicate that they might be doing wholesale. They're just kind of in the process of figuring out what that would look like for them. So they may be available to us as human beings. Lots of amazing coupon codes. And look at the yarn this year. Teeny Button Studios did the yarn. By the way, she's super cute. Super cute. This is her Squish DK base, and this is the Judgy Rabbit colorway. Just saying. But isn't that a cute colorway? And I'm very excited to do a hat, or maybe some slippers even would be super cute. I can't decide, but this is 100% superwash merino, 250 yards and 115 grams. So it's one of those beefy skeins. Okay. So Teeny Buttons. Love her logo. Love her face. She was super cute. Buy things from her. Okay? Okay. And then look at this insanity. I'm only going to show you one because I can't hold many things at once. Adjustable size sock blockers. If you saw pictures, you were like, what's that fishbone thing? Dude. And so it has sizes marked on here, both European and American. And then there's a little row, there's a little arrow that indicates what size so like this is a size 40. How cute is that? So you can make your socks blockers anywhere from this size all the way up to this size. Is that not so clever? Those knit girls. Mega clever. So anyway, there's that, which is super cute and fun. There were lots of coupon codes. Lots of amazingness. I think there was something else too, which I already like pilfered, but now I can't remember. Okay. Okay. So I was very excited about that. Boink. Excuse me. The fiber was beautiful this year. It was done by Two Guys Yarn. I always call them Two Guys. Now I can't remember if it's Two Guys Yarn or Two Guys Fiber. Oh, crud. Because they are lovely and cute as a button human beings as well. I want to make sure I try to get... It is Two Guys Yarn Company. Thank you. So they did a beautiful... wooleny prep, purpley, gray-y, gorgeous thing. Super beautiful. So there's that. Okay, that's stuff, that stuff. Now, I received so many, oh my gosh. Okay, but I do need to show you those. Okay, sorry, I had to go upstairs. It's Wednesday, and I got home on Sunday, and my suitcase is still not unpacked. Whatever. So, last year, I had an amazing roommate. She gave me an amazing woven scarf, which, well, shawl slash, you know, stole. It was so gorgeous. So amazing. And then this year she was like, do you want to be roommates again? I was like, yes. And then I should have been like, but don't get me anything because you know I am the worst human on earth. And quite frankly, I mean, usually I'm not the worst person on earth, but trying to get ready to go to do vending is kind of insane. Like I can barely get myself there with all of my bags and stuff. This year I did manage to bring 11 sweaters to the try-it-on room. By the way, speaking of which, I know I'm not distracted. So I bought a ton of sweaters, 11 sweaters to the try-it-on room. And let me just discuss. The Thripwear, which is by Isolde Teague, is the fingering weight sweater that I knit with Hairstyle Designs Shetland. Did I say I was fingering weight? The Magpie Tendency by Scanigans, and the Ursa by Jacqueline Cieslak looked darling on everybody who put it on. Like I'm talking about especially the Ursa, because the Ursa's knit in linen, especially the Ursa. It could have like 20 inches of positive ease, because again, I am a big lady. Some people tried it on and I know it had to have 20 inches of positive ease because it's got some positive ease on me, and these are just like not me-sized humans. It still looked cute on them. What? So if you're like trying to knit a sweater and you're not sure, like it's your first sweater and you're intimidated or something, I mean, I'm not a fan of linen yarns, but they are forgiving in terms of fit. Like if your sweater's a little bit too big, it just hangs right out. It doesn't look like it's fluffy and bulky and huge. It just like draped really beautifully on them. But anyway, especially even the Thripwear, which again is just a wool yarn, it looked darling on everybody who tried it on. And it could, again, it had, sometimes I know it had to have 15 inches positive ease on people, but I think because it's a fingering weight sweater, it just hung nicely on everybody, even if it was too big. I don't know, that seems like witchcraft or something, but who am I to say? Okay, that was a lot of me talking to say that I never have the bandwidth to like get anything but myself someplace. So I should have been like, no, little hip kitty, just remember I'm an awful human and I won't be able to get brain space together to get you an amazing gift. But I didn't say that because I'm awful. And maybe I had like a glimmer of hope 2 months ago that I wouldn't be awful, but I mean, that was dumb. I'm always awful. But guess what I got? I'm glad no, I'm not glad, but I am glad that I didn't mention that I was awful again. Because look at this. I have an intense love for hand-woven dish towels. They're always the thing I look at craft markets and fairs and wool festivals and think, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to be a fancy lady who has hand-knit dish towels. And then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Okay, now not only do I have hand-knit dish towels, they have sheep on them. Are you kidding me? Sorry, these were folded in my suitcase, so they're a little wrinkly. What? Are you kidding me? She wove them with her own 2 little hands. What? And then these were kind of experimental. I didn't know if I liked this yarn because it made the sheeps a little bit harder to recognize. But look at them. They're like woolly sheeps. Right. They're like woolly sheeps in a slight snow shower. But then these are like the crisp sheeps on a bright sunny day who've just been shorn but still have their sheep colors going. So exciting. So that was a lot to say. That I received a lot of amazing gifts, but I'm only going to show you 3 of them because I'm embarrassed at how generous people are. In a good way. But how cute is that? That wasn't even all of the gift. Let me just discuss. But then also, I received strawberry raspberry jam, and I just cannot describe to you how gorgeous this color is. Look, okay, I think you can see it a little bit. Right. Focus, camera. Focus on the magical light. There we go. And peach chutney. What? I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure I'm the only podcaster who gets canned goods. I mean, homemade canned goods. Don't you dare throw a can of green beans at me from the grocery store. Don't you do that. Hey, don't throw it because it'll hurt. But look at that! I totally got canned goods. Amazing. Home canned items from super awesome people. I'm super lucky. It's the best. I'm not saying that you should have a podcast talking about canning stuff so that you can get canning gifts, but I'm just saying. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so then, well, I did type some things I want to talk about. So I had classes. I took one class from Olga Jazzy. What is her name? I'm so sorry. I feel like it's Olga Jazzy Knits on Ravelry, but it might just be Olga Jazzy. So amazing. I'm not even lying to you. It's one of those things where, okay, just Olga Jazzy. I'm sorry. By the way, this is her precious face. And you're like, wait, she looks too cool to talk to. She's totally not. She's totally cool, but she'll totally talk to you anyway. I mean, I know she's being paid to, but whatever. So cute. So anyway, when I signed up for my classes, you know, I've been knitting for over 20 years now. And so sometimes I'm like, do I really want to take a knitting class? Like spinning, I've only been spinning for like 6-ish years, 7-ish years. Okay, I've been spinning a long time now too. I should probably be better. Whatever. But sometimes when I take knitting classes, it's hard for me to decide, like, okay, is this like a specific technique class that, you know, that I might already have a lot of the skills for, or is this more of an inspirational class? And so I tend to look for more of the inspirational classes, or like design classes, or something that's a little bit more outside of my comfort range. Now, that is not to say, I do really feel like anytime I take a class, I always take away something that's often not anything to do with the class. So classes are always inspiring. They're always interesting. And even when you feel comfortable with the subject matter, there's always something that you learn. But, you know, when you're making that decision, like, I'm not sure if I should, because, you know, classes are not free. They're very reasonably priced usually for what you get. Like the classes at Super Summer Knit Together especially are. But there's always that like, moment. I am so glad I took that class. So glad. It was awesome. Not only was the content really interesting to me, because okay. It was the title of the class was 3D Knits. So it's all about 3-dimensional knitwear. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes 3-dimensional knitwear borders on that like kitschy, like too cartoony element for me. Sometimes it can really be costumey. That's a good way to say it. And so I was like, but still there'll be some technique that's interesting to me. I did not feel like that about any of the pieces that she had. She had a lot of her own patterns, you know, samples and what have you during the class. And they were all gorgeous. And none of them felt like the faux fur of texture knitting. Do you know what I mean? None of them, they just were all gorgeous. And so many of them I would have not looked twice at on Ravelry because either the color was slightly different in the photo, or again, just the like awesomeness of the 3-dimensionality is very hard to capture in a 2-dimensional photograph. And so I am so glad, even if nothing else, that I just got to see samples. And she did actually have them in the try it on room as well for folks to look at. Because there's just so cool. So the first part of the class was literally more of a lecture style, which I actually really like, in which she talked about her design process and inspirations and construction and like the difference of some of her patterns really rely on the yarn to help maintain the structure, while some of them have a structure that's independent of yarn. Meaning, some of her patterns really do want you to have 100% wool. That's something that's going to have a lot of elasticity and memory to really maintain those sharper three-dimensional aspects. While some of the patterns, it does not matter. They're not as reliant on that wool content. They can have some cashmere or some camel. They can even be superwash, what have you. Oh, and then she even talked about... Oh, all right, I'm stopping it again. Okay, back. Because I definitely ordered this while I was in her class. Literally. She also talked about this. So on, for example, if you want to use a superwash wool in a texture pattern that's very, has a lot of relief and like might not, you know, superwash wool doesn't block as hard as a regular wool. It doesn't maintain that shape as well because it doesn't have the scales to like hold on to itself as well. Well, she had knit some of her samples, and I don't know if it was with the neighborhood, but it's a yarn essentially that is stainless steel. And then there are options where it's also coated in silk. And I would have never thought twice about that yarn because I would have heard stainless steel and thought it was like some sort of avant-garde, like hoo kind of thing. No, so cool. So there's this yarn from Neighborhood Fiber Company, and it's called Chromium. It's 69% silk and 31% stainless steel. So this teensy tiny little skein has 440 yards. It's the lace weight. And essentially you can hold it with another yarn if your project that you want needs more stability. So for example, I'm just saying this out of the, like, I'm totally just making this up. But for example, if you wanted to like crochet those like beautiful snowflake doilies, but you did not want to starch them, this might potentially, I'm not saying it will work because I have not tried it, but I'm trying to think of other applications. That's something that comes to mind. If you had something that was perhaps like a jewelry or some other item, you could hold this with the knitting and it might give it just a little bit more structure. It was very interesting. Very interesting. I definitely queued like a million patterns during the class. I may have actually bought 3. I always hesitate because I don't want a teacher to see me looking at my phone and be like, I'm totally not texting. I'm just buying your stuff. Trust me. Just saying. So during the class, we did do a little sample of one of her patterns. This is just a test bump of the Moko cowl, which is this fun. Here, this is probably good. Let me try it this way, see if you can see it better. And I would have never thought that's knit modularly. So each one of those little like petals or leaves or whatever, those are all knit individually. I don't know. I just didn't think about it that way. And so this is the sample I knit during her class. And it was so fun. It was very potato chip. I taught myself how to knit backwards because there's only like a 6-row, it's only a 6-stitch section that you're working on. So I am all about like I've done entrelock and just turned the project, but for some reason I was just inspired to try it. Totally worked. Just knit backwards on those 6 stitches. Look very fancy. So it was super fun and interesting, and now I want to knit a million things. Of course. And then I took classes with Maggie Casey on Friday. They were little spinning classes, which were very, oh, I'm so sorry. So interesting. So many different ways to sample things. And you know, I know how to sample things. I know theoretically how to experiment to see if I like this or that or that. But sometimes it's just so helpful to be in that learning environment where you're essentially forced to do it. I'm just saying, I have to be forced to do some things. And then I'll totally enjoy it and be excited about it. I'm lame. But it was so interesting. Of course, a lifetime of information for Maggie. It was fascinating. And just fun to see other people doing things and hear their questions and learn from their questions. Basically, it's all super awesome. Okay, I got that. polka jazzing, amazing. And then spinning cotton. Oh, that was another thing that Maggie keeps. I've never been inclined to spin cotton. It's never sounded like something I wanted to do. Because when I think cotton, I think dishy or sugar and cream. Now I know that I have knit with other cotton yarn that is not like that at all, but that's just kind of what my brain goes to. And so I've just never been that inclined to try it. It's so not like that. For one thing, she had some like actual like cotton from the plant where the seed is still attached, and we spun from that, which was so cool. Like the little cotton seed, it's kind of, all of the little tufts of cotton are connected around the seed, so you can hold on to the seed and then just like spin off of. And then she had actual like cotton top that we spun off of. It was so soft and lovely and not at all what I thought it was going to be. It was so interesting to me. So that was super fun. I was glad that I was in a class where I was forced to do that because I actually really enjoyed it and would have never thought that I would. So cool. Just saying. What else? So I told you about the Ursa, the Magpie Tendency, the Threadmere that looked good on everybody. Really, how did those look good on everybody? The Threadmere, the only thing that did not look good on everybody is my arms are so much bigger. My sleeves are bigger on that one. And since it's short sleeved, they did kind of bell out a little bit, but that's just because, that's whatever was too big for that person. And even if it wasn't too big for that person, it was made for my arms and not their arms. So it's very interesting. Anyway, sorry. So then the market was amazing. Of course it was. I had a lovely time. It was hard not to buy everything. Let me talk first about things I did not buy that I have potentially regrets about. Okay. So stress knits. I did not even know about stress knits. Do you know about stress knits? I would not feel inclined to look up stress knits if I just heard the name because I would think, no, really, stress is not what I want. Her table was like a dopamine factory. I don't know what wool wash she's using. I don't know if it contains a high percentage of CBD oil. I don't know what's going on over there. It was gorgeous. Not at all my palette. Not at all. It's all, I don't want to say that the pastel is not the word because pastel, that's not it. But everything was washed. Everything was just like a slightly different flavor. It was like all of the colors had been neutralized. That's not right either. I don't know how to explain it, but it was so gorgeous. It was like all of the yarn was dyed on this rustic silvery wood of an ocean dock. But like a fancy rich person's dock, not like a busted, the fishing trawlers are going out. No, like this is in a movie or a commercial dock. Like it was just weathered and gorgeous. Then you can imagine all of the yarn hanging off of it and the ocean breezes. It was like that. It was gorgeous. It was like Zoloft yarn. It was so soothing. And she had this, I don't even remember what pattern it was, but it was this pattern that involved like garter stripes of like a fingering weight and then garter stripes of a mohair. So you had like that difference in texture and openness. And it was this beautiful mint green. Have I ever wanted mint green? And like softer than a mint, like soft mint green. I was like, I don't even want to wear this thing. I just want to hang it up and look at it. Because it's gorgeous. Like she had all these samples that I was like, I would never think to make that, but now I want it all. She had one sample that I took a picture of. It's not a good picture, so I'm not going to show you the picture. I'm going to try to paint the picture with words, which will go super well, right? It totally will go super well. Okay, it was like blush pink DK. Okay, so imagine DK super squishy, super gartery, super gorgeous. It was like, I may be watching a lot of Queer Eye right now, so I'm sorry if I Jonathan out on you. It was like this beautiful blushy pink, just the softest peachy blush pink. So soft. And then a skinnier stripe of the perfect gold, because I love a perfect gold. Perfect gold with like the softest mint green baubles in the gold stripe. What? Gold and mint green? Why would, what? Amazing. Amazing. She just sold out and it was perfect. So anyway, those are all the things I wanted to buy from her. It's not even all of them. I couldn't even, like, if I would have had more time and like bandwidth. See, that's the thing. It's a thing that kind of saves me in markets, right? Like, I actually just don't, at that point, I often don't have the bandwidth to like think at all, except about what I am doing. So it saves me in many ways, because otherwise, if I would have had time to like plan that shopping spree out, it definitely would have been crazy. Same thing with Yarn Cafe Creations. She had these beautiful DKs that were in it was not minty green, but it was in the neighborhood there too. It was like adjacent to the minty green. And they were so gorgeous. And I was just smitten with them, but I had no idea what to do with them, because I had not even been planning on knitting anything with them, because they're so far out of my normal sphere that I just did not. And so I could not think enough about, I mean, now I'm still like imagining them in my head because I'm weird. And like, maybe we're going to do some trading later on. I don't know what I'm just saying. So sometimes it saves you. I mean, there's regrets, right? Because I'm like, I did really love those colorways. And like, but at the same time, again, if I like had pre-planning, I could think about all of the things I wanted to buy, I would probably have just not come in home with any dollars, which is really not acceptable. But that is a lot to say. There was a market full of gorgeous stuff. Just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous everywhere. Here are the things I did come home with. So, it was the first year for Urban Girl Yarns. And she is out of Virginia, right? Yeah, she's out of Richmond, Virginia. And she and her helper attended the festival, and they were both lovely human beings. Highly enjoyed them. And I purchased this. I love this. I don't know if the lighting is going to do this colorway justice. It's like the color of the columbines. No, I always say columbines when I mean hollyhocks. It's the color of the hollyhocks in my romantic English garden that I do not have. It is pink, but rose, but with a peachy undertone. It's a semi-solid and it's gorgeous. And this is actually a beefy skein. It's a 90-10 superwash merino nylon, but it's 480 yards, 125 grams. So I thought it'd be perfect for the baby knitting that I need to do. Right. Love it. So gorgeous. Oh, I forgot about that. There's a whole bag of things I forgot about. But isn't it beautiful? So I'm very excited about trying that out. And then I traded with Suburban Stitcher. Again, she is not my typical. She had one thing that was a mohair that was perfect. It was like orange and like fuchsia, but somehow that sounds really loud, but it wasn't. It was just gorgeous. But for some reason, I've been like gravitating to these softer colors. I don't know what's going on. But this is her Merino DK. It's 100% superwash merino, 250 yards, 115 grams. And this is her Predictability colorway. And isn't that just gorgeous? Just like tonal with a few speckles. It's just going to be nice and quiet. Thinking about making that Olga. There was a different cowl that I really wanted to make. And I think that this might be destined for it. So beautiful. Lollipop was there. There was a million skeins of self-striping. So tender. I definitely have enough sock yarn. Settle down. And then, of course, HipStrings was there. They always have beautiful things. I was so tempted by so many of their fiber choices. But I went with 2 skeins of their buoy. This is the this is the B. This is the fingering weight. This is the colorway Bay. B-A-Y. Don't get fancy on me. It is 37.5% BFL, 37.5% Shetland, 25% Manx Longtham. Isn't it lovely? So they're dyed in the wool. They have this beautiful heathered texture. Super dig them. I got 2 lavender skeins last year that I was going to knit and I sold a garter stitch lace shawl with. But then that yarn got reassigned to another upcoming sweater pattern by another designer. And so I clearly needed to fill that void from the yarn that I took from the Isolde shawl that I still haven't knit. This is it. And then I won this skein of Callback from Leadingman Fiber Arts. Ooh, it's really reading. I mean, it's definitely like a primary red. Like it's definitely, but it's a little glowy on this. I don't know how to look on the final product, but it's an interesting colorway. This is their rubescent colorway, and this is sport weight. So I thought it would be perfect little envelope sweater from Isolde. So that's all the market damage that I did. There were so many things I wanted to buy. But I also got to go to Craft South with some folks. They were kind enough to take me along on their adventure. So I bought a few things. I bought this fabric for, I'm thinking it's going to be an Audacier tunic, like one of her pinafores or something, because I really do love old-fashioned looking prints so much. And I thought this would be a great colorway for fall. Isn't that beautiful? That's a very nice hand. I mean, it's definitely like a quilter's cotton. It's not a lawn, but it's somewhere in between them, it feels like. It's very tightly woven. It has almost a little bit of a sheen. Not exactly, but... And so then I bought this awesome mushroom fabric. And you know it's going to be some bags. Because it's crazy pants. I do really love some crazy pants mushroom fabric. Gets me every time. So I got all they had of that. Then, oh my gosh, also by the way, at the Craft South, I totally ran into one of my very, very original bag customers. So when I first started making bags, I think I can't remember if I made 7 or 8, but I think I maybe made 7 and kept one. This was the very first run. I didn't have a shop. I just like PayPal invoiced people. And so by complete chance, I ran into Pamela Knits, who was one of my very, very first, she bought one of my very original bags. And she just happened to be in Nashville with her partner. They were doing their thing, and she happened to walk into Craft South when I was there. How cool is that? Then I also bought the fabric, which I'm so excited about. What? Is that not awesome? And if you can't tell, it's got like a long line quilting stitch with like an embroidery floss or like a pearl, maybe it's like a pearl cotton. It's like a pearl cotton. So it is basically like quilting 2, they're not gauze, but they're somewhat similar. They might technically be gauze. 2 layers of gauze together. So that's the wrong side. This is going to be my challenge, is to like make a bag, but not, I want the wrong side. The wrong side's super cool too. But anyway, so excited about this fabric. I definitely bought whatever was left on the bolt, which was not enough. And that'll be some bags this fall. What? Isn't that cool? So I'm super duper digging it. They might be a little bit pricier than normal because I'm going to have to definitely do some like stay stitching to keep the embroidery flosses from, or for the pearl cottons from running through, but I'm not even kidding you. If I were a bolder seamstress, I might just save this for myself and like make some sort of quilted jacket or something, but I think in bags. I really love it. It's super awesome. Oh, totally dig it. This is definitely a stashable fabric. Like this would be hard to resist even if you did not. I mean, like even if you didn't know what on earth you were going to do with it, this would have been tempting. It's so cool. Love it. Ever so much. I wish there had been more on the bolt. 'Cause I'm greedy. So very greedy. Okay. I think that's enough. Oh my goodness, so lots of updates. Again, updates for the next 4 weeks on Fridays. If you're just wanting a bag, just check in on a Friday. Maybe there'll be bags there. I'm just saying. They all happen at 9 p.m. Eastern time. There'll probably be some more talk about, I'm hoping there'll be talk about tomatoes next time. Hopefully these tomatoes actually get ripe. I'm so afraid that the like 175 feral raccoons that live in the abandoned house next to me. I wish that were hyperbole. My husband texted me while I'm gone. I woke up this morning, went to the garage, and there were 2 baby raccoons hanging off the garage roof. I'm like, surprise? Maybe we should call animal control. I'm like, I kind of feel like I don't want to do that even. I know, it's a concern, because if they get into like our eaves or anything in our house, like they can do so much damage. But I'm like, but if they're just happy over there, they won't get into our house, because that's a whole house for them. This house is huge, by the way. This is like pre-1900. It was like a doctor's house or something. It's an enormous house. It's been a double for years and years and years. But it's been abandoned for at least 2 years, I think. I think we're moving. Like, I think this is it's full 2 years it's been abandoned. And like, it's been purchased. It's like theoretically being flipped, but they're going to take it out of the rafters. And then we're going to have to worry about those raccoons. Then our house is going to look really good to them. Anyway, they've not got into my garden yet. Knock on all the wood. I am concerned. Anyway, I think that's enough. I'll talk